point of view and educational point of view. The disclaimer first that we analyze the social media footages and which can be unverified at times, and we analyze those unverified social media footages and reports purely from documentary and educational point of view, strongly following the YouTube community guidelines. So let's begin with the news that International Atomic Energy Agency says that no increase in off-site radiation levels following Israeli attack on Ardakan facility. International Atomic Energy Agency says no increase in off-site radiation levels following Israeli attack on Ardakan agency. It is reported that Ardakan facility was targeted. Ardakan facility was targeted, and Ardakan facility was targeted. Iran's Ardakan facility was targeted, and resultantly, there was kind of there was a concern that whether this could lead to the nuclear radiations fallout, and that would be very dangerous if that happens. And so Atomic Energy Agency confirms that no such nuclear radiations fallout has happened, and despite attack on Ardakan facility of Iran. And International Atomic Agency confirms that no off-site radiation energy has been reported that. And International Atomic Energy Agency has also said that nuclear sites shouldn't be targeted, as the nuclear fallout could have very devastating consequences for the region, and this would lead to very devastating consequences. So nuclear sites and reactors shouldn't be directly targeted, as it could lead to devastating consequences. So he has warned, the director of IAEA has warned that these nuclear reactors shouldn't be targeted, and nuclear because the radioactive fallout could be very dangerous for the community and for the region. Now, we have a question for you that we have shared, and we want you people to please answer this question. And the question we have today for the chat is that, is Iran justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz? Is Iran justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz? Do please answer this question, and we will see your reasons and why you are saying that Iran is justified or Iran is not justified. Do please answer with not only yes and no, but answer with the reason. I also mention the reason. Why do you think that if you think Iran is justified, why do you think Iran is justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz? And if you think otherwise, that Iran is not justified, and then why do you think that Iran is not justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz? So this is basically the question for today's chat, and let's now talk on the Strait of Hormuz. And before starting this talk on the Strait of Hormuz, I would like to request you people, please do subscribe this channel and do like this video, as it helps a lot. And now just let's begin with our talk on the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is closed by Iran since the beginning of the war. The war is in its now 29th day. The war is now in its 29th day in some parts of the world. If you live in the eastern part of the world, the Strait of Hormuz is closed since 29th day, and the war is in its 29th day. And if you live in the western part of the world, the war has entered its 28th day, and the Strait of Hormuz is closed since 28 days. And the Strait of Hormuz is a narrow passage. There is a narrow passage, 3 to 4 kilometers or maximum 5 kilometers wide, and only one big oil tanker or ship can pass through that narrow passage at a time. And Strait of Hormuz is strategically important because it carries 20% of the trade that happens around the world of oil. 20% of that passes through the Strait of Hormuz. And when that 20% trade passes through the Strait of Hormuz, that means that the 20% of the trade is disrupted and halted when Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz. And we have question for you that is in this chat, that please do write the reasons as well, that is Iran justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz, or Iran is not justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz. Do comment your answers and also write the reasons as well. So talking about the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is closed since the beginning of the war, and it's been now the 29 days that this Strait of Hormuz is now closed, and 20% of the oil supply and the trade supply has been halted. And as a result, Iran in its negotiations said that if negotiations do take place, we have the one of many reasons and many points that Iran has laid down for negotiations. Among those many points, one point is that U.S. should recognize that this Strait of Hormuz belongs to Iran, and they should recognize Iran's control over this Strait of Hormuz. And Strait of Hormuz, now what Iran is basically doing here, Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran is not allowing the oil tankers to pass through and trade to happen through the Strait of Hormuz. And what is the effect of this, that oil prices are going up. The countries which depend on oil, which need oil, and those countries which they need oil. Every country needs oil, and those who and those trade routes is from the Strait of Hormuz, and those countries are will be now facing the shortages of oil. And then there would be like the shortage of oil as well, and the price of oil would be going up. And Iran is also now charging a fee for tankers to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. So those countries, so look at now the situation which has now developed. At first, US and Europe and other countries, some Asian countries as well, were favoring the US and on trade that was US placed on Iran, and these countries, most of those countries favor the US, that the trading was banned with Iran by US and many other countries, including Europe and some Asian countries such as South Korea. And now South Korea, we have news that South Korea wants its oil containers to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran says let's talk and let's negotiate. South Korea must put up its formal application that they want to allow, that they want their containers to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Then they should give the fee for passing through the Strait of Hormuz. The fee that Iran has said would be $2 million per oil tanker. So this is these are the events that are taking place. Iran was the trade with Iran was like banned and was made illegal. by US and many other countries, and those same countries are now asking Iran to please Iran to please let our oil tankers to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, as we need oil desperately. So this is the turn of events you are seeing, and then comes the news that Iran wants US to US should recognize Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz. US has trying very hard and to open the Strait of Hormuz, and President Trump also has said a few days back that the Strait of Hormuz will be opened by US, and they will be bombing the IRGC and the small speed boats that are basically kamikaze boats, which Iran is using to close the Strait of Hormuz. So but still, U.S. hasn't met with success in opening the Strait of Hormuz. So Iran says that Iran seeing this, that even U.S. hasn't achieved much success in opening the Strait of Hormuz. So Iran is saying U.S. must recognize Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz, and the consequence and the effect of that recognition of Iranian control over Strait of Hormuz would be that Iran would be then charging legally the fee for passing of the oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran is doing now as well. Iran is getting $2 million per tanker from those countries who want their oil and trade to pass through this Strait of Hormuz. This was the situation of the Strait of Hormuz, and let's discuss why US and Israel, despite having air superiority and modern technology, much better than Iran, even then they are not able to open the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran has managed to close it effectively. Why is this the case? The answer to this is that before answering this, I request please do subscribe the channel, like the video as well, and do comment your thoughts and answer this question: is Iran justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz or not? Do comment on this as well. And now let's back to the discussion that why why US, despite having much air superiority over despite having much air superiority over despite having much air superiority over Iran, the US and Israel haven't met with much success over opening the Strait of Hormuz. The answer to this is pretty simple, and the answer to this is that US, Iran has small and fast attack boats. Iran has attack boats that are fast. They are kamikaze boats, and Iran used them to strike to do a suicide attack, basically on these are suicidal boats, and Iran basically rams them into the oil tankers of the countries who want to pass through the Strait of Hormuz without prior Iranian request and permission, So Iran has those fast boats. Iran, this is only one of the point which Iran is utilizing, and another is that Iran has that coastal area, and Iran has deployed their forces over those coastal areas, and Iran has also deployed people with force their rockets over there, and when the oil tankers try to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, they are threatened that they would be attacked by these rockets and missiles, and also by their kamikaze drones, the Shahid drones. So there is Another reason is that why the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Still, U.S. and Israel having air superiority. Why it is closed is that the location of the strategic location of the Strait of Hormuz is that it only has 3 to 4 kilometers wide area, and that the U.S. The Iranian has speedboats can and have the option to lay mines, sea mines in that area, and the result would be like when you have having mines in the area, no tanker did through that area. So then these are the reasons that make the Strait of Hormuz difficult for US and Israel to open, and Iran has effective control over the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is demanding $2 million per barrel for opening the Strait of Hormuz. So this was that why Iran has effective control over the Strait of Hormuz. Connected to the Strait of Hormuz, we have another story. We have another interesting story connected to the Strait of Hormuz. Yesterday, President Donald Trump said that. President Donald Trump yesterday said that that Iran has gifted U.S. At first 8 containers or 8 oil tankers, and then Iran did apologize as well, and also added 2 more vessels or oil containers. Why did President Trump said this? Did actually Iran gifted U.S. The oil containers or tankers? The answer to this is no. Iran didn't give or gifted. Neither did they apologize to U.S. or nor did they gifted the oil tankers to the. Nor did they. Nor did they gifted this oil tankers to. Nor did they gifted these oil tankers to U.S. Then why President Trump was saying that Iran has gifted them? This was because the Strait of Hormuz was closed, and Iran allowed of the containers and vessels and tankers to pass through. And when Iran allowed a few of the containers to pass through, some of them were Pakistani flagged, and opened it for them. And so when those vessels and oil tankers passed, then President Trump said that it was because it is like a gift that the Strait of Hormuz is opened by Iran. But Iran has already previously stated that they won't be opening the Strait of Hormuz for US and its allies and Israel, but it would be open for other countries if they pay a $2 million barrel fee over for a safe passage for their container to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. So this was the another story connected to the Strait of Hormuz. And we have comments and we will be reading some comments, but I don't know these languages. You people write we have 2-3 comments in, I don't know, is it French or is it Spanish or which language? And we have another comment which is in Hebrew, I guess. It's difficult for me to read these comments. It would be very easy if you people please comment in English, as I am live streaming, and it would be great for currently my location is UK, and it would be great for me if you people please comment in English, and do also comment is Iran justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz or not? We have another story connected to the Strait of Hormuz, a breaking story. The story is that Taiwan makes some very good chips, which and processor chips, which we use in our mobiles and which we use in our mobiles. The Taiwan is very good in making those chips, but Taiwan needs to run its industries. Taiwan needs to some of Qatar's LNG and helium as well. Taiwan imports helium and LNG from Qatar. And that LNG and Qatar comes through the Strait of Hormuz, via Strait of Hormuz to Taiwan. Now, as the Strait of Hormuz is closed, Taiwan doesn't have access to the LNG and that helium. And when Taiwan is basically running low on now LNG and helium, as new consignments are not reaching there, and new orders are not reaching over there due to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, or they are taking longer because now the containers and the vessels take a longer route, delaying the reaching of the products, and even 20 to 30% costing more as well. So the cost 30%, and time also 1 to 2 months more. So when this happens, what happens is that Taiwan would, if new orders doesn't, if helium and LNG doesn't now reach to them, and then they would be running out of and running low on these helium and LNG, which is necessary for the industries in Taiwan to work so that they could make their these processors and chips which we use in our mobile phones. And if this war gets prolonged for 4 to 6 weeks and 8 weeks, and no new and LNG and helium doesn't reach Taiwan, then obviously the prices of these chips would be increasing, processor chips would be increasing, and also along with the increase in prices, there would be decline in the production as well, and we would see that the production of these chips would also decline. So this is another story connected to it. So you can see that not only those countries which are fighting the war are affected. The effects of this war, and especially the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, can be seen in many different parts of the world. And one such effect we have mentioned you, and that is the closure of the Strait of Hormuz affecting Taiwan. And the affecting of resulting in decline in the production of AI and in the production of and those microprocessor chips which we use in our mobile phones. And resultantly, what will happen when there is decreased production, the increase in the prices. Now we are reading your comments. Please, we have made is Iran justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz? Please do comment and do also take part in the poll. We have created a poll in our live chat, that is Iran justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz, and there we have been live in live for 10 minutes, and we have 38 votes up till now, and 68% of the people say that Iran is indeed justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz, and 32% people say that Iran is not justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz. Please do mention the reason as well, that why Iran is not justified in opening the Strait of Hormuz. Let's move towards some more visuals. This is RT, Iranian cluster strike in Tel Aviv left 5 hurt. This is, we are showing you the RT channel, courtesy RT channel. This RT channel is a Russian TV channel, and this RT channel, courtesy RT channel, is showing you the visuals, courtesy RT channel. the impacts of Iranian missiles in Tel Aviv, leaving 5 injured. The impacts of Iranian missiles leave 5 injured in Israel. Courtesy RT channel. This is a Russian channel. The impacts of missiles in Israel leave 5 plus injured. Iran warns civilians to evacuate. Middle East strikes could hit at any moment. These are the moments when Iran launched its missiles, and Iran warns prior to the launching of missiles, Iran warns the civilians to move away from the strategic targets. When Iran is targeting the U.S. bases, Iran obviously doesn't warn before attacking the U.S. bases, but Iran does warn the people when Iran wants to target the airports and when Iran wants to target the other strategic locations such as the hotels. Why do hotels become strategic targets? When Iran knows and when Iran gets intel that U.S. troops are residing in the hotels, then Iran warns those people living in the hotels that do please evacuate the hotel, as we'll be targeting the U.S. Troops stationed there. So this is Iran when launched the missiles. They did warn that the civilians that please stay out of our target ranges and locations, and the prior warning that Iran issued. Now today, Iranian Air Force targeted underground sites in Al-Quds and central Iran with GBU-57 bunker buster bombs. Today, we have news that Iran's steel production sites were targeted. In one Isfahan. The steel production sites of Iran were targeted today by Israel, and this was the news from today. And we have another news regarding that we have told you earlier that Israel attacked and US attacked one of Ardakan's facility. Ardakan facility in Iran was targeted, and they were concerned that the radioactive material could leak out, and there would be radioactive spill out, and that would be very devastating for the the region as well. So IAEA did a survey and said that there is no signs of that radioactive spill out and that radioactive spill out, and there is no sign of that and no symptoms of that radioactive fallout. But the IAEA warned and requested the countries that these facilities, nuclear facilities, shouldn't be targeted, as the radioactive fallout could be a big problem, and that would engulf the whole Middle East as well. So those shouldn't be targeted. It was the request of IAEA chief. And connected to that is that we have another news is that Iran has Iran has made huge tunnels. We have the visuals as well, satellite visuals and images as well, which we would be showing you in a matter of time once we get those visuals, and we will be showing you those satellite images that Iran has made underground, several kilometers deep, running tunnels in the mountains and in the underground, running several kilometers deep. Made these several kilometer deep tunnels because Iran it is like discussions are going on that Iran made these tunnels, and because Iran wants to hide its 60% enriched uranium in these underground tunnels which run several kilometer deep. Please do subscribe the channel and like the video as well. Iran has made several kilometers deep underground tunnels. Iran has made several kilometer deep underground tunnels, and in these tunnels it is believed that that Iran has hidden its 60% enriched uranium in those tunnels, and these tunnels run several kilometers deep in earth, and now Iran has closed the entrances of those tunnels as well. Iran has closed the entrances. The inside the possible bunker Iran built, and Iran has now hidden its 60% enriched uranium under these in these tunnels, which run several kilometers deep in the earth, and Iran has hidden its 60% enriched uranium in these tunnels. We have satellite footages we'll show you once they become available, and the satellite footages do confirm that these tunnels are now, the entrances of these tunnels are now closed. So Iran basically saved its 60% enriched uranium. The reporter did ask this question from President Donald Trump in a press conference that are there plans by US to seize the uranium of Iran, to which he replied that I'm not going to answer this question. Which President Trump replied that I'm not going to answer this question. And this is the footage we are showing you, that in Iran, in the front you see that a child is playing at the swing, but at the back there you see huge clouds and smoke. At the back you see huge clouds and smoke. The smoke and clouds are of when Israel and US attacked the naval bases and of Iran, naval bases of Iran. These are the footages of attack on naval bases of Iran. At the background, you can see huge smokes and smoke clouds. This is because Iranian naval bases were targeted. And the front, you see a child playing on a swing. Let's move to some more visuals, and we are providing you analysis over these unverified visuals purely from a documentary and educational point of view, strongly following the YouTube community guidelines. These are U.S. forces continue to eliminate Iranians' ability to project military power beyond its border. These are the visuals released by U.S., and they released these visuals, and these visuals show that U.S. and Israel are targeting the missile sites and launchers and the storage sites of missiles. The U.S. are targeting them because Iranian missiles and Iranian drones are like a headache to US and Israel, because Iran is using them very effectively against the US bases and Israel. So Israel and US is concentrated, is basically hitting those missiles stockpiles and drones sites. Now this is Al Jazeera reporting that Israel attacks major industrial areas and heavy water plant following strikes on infrastructure linked to production of steel. This is Al Jazeera reported that smoke was seen rising from Iran's Arak heavy water plant following Israeli airstrikes on infrastructure linked to the production of civilian nuclear energy and uranium enrichment. So this is these are the visuals when one of the civilian nuclear or for peaceful purposes nuclear energy sites, these were targeted by Israel, and these are the visuals courtesy Al Jazeera News. We are showing you that civilian nuclear or peaceful nuclear energy plants were, meaning thereby not nuclear for nuclear nukes making, but these were for peaceful, for energy making. By Israel. These are the exclusive footage, courtesy Al Jazeera News. Let's now look at to your comments, and let's read your comments. And please do answer that whether. Please do answer that whether Iran is justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz. And we have a poll conducted for you. We have 100 votes now, and Iran, 70% of the people say that yes, Iran is justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz, and 30% of the people say that no, Iran is not justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz. These are now Iran launched attacks on two of steel plants in Iran. Israel launched attacks on two of Iran's steel plants, steel making plants. One was in Isfahan, and that attack Israel has launched. And let's move to some more visuals. There are plans by US. US is considering of like attacking Iran by ground invasion. US is indeed thinking of invading Iran by ground invasion, and would that ground invasion be successful, or would that ground invasion won't be successful? I want your thoughts over it, and then we'll analyze whether the ground invasion by US would be successful, whether or it wouldn't be successful. The plans, and then there are discussions going on whether US is thinking of should they send troops for ground invasion or not. Now let's discuss whether is ground invasion possible, or isn't it possible. What are your opinions? Please do comment as well. First of all, that ground invasion, US would be needing approximately 500,000 to 1 million soldiers, and that is quite large amount of the soldiers and troops that US would be needing. 500,000 to 1 million soldiers they would be needing, and once they are in the ground, then you see the next phase begins. They would be like fighting IRGC, who have mastered in the guerrilla tactics, and IRGC have done their working, and they know that when it comes to the guerrilla warfare, America is not good at fighting the guerrilla warfare. The IRGC knows that in Afghanistan, US left Afghanistan because we are back, and there was apologies from my side because there was a technical glitch, and due to which the live streaming went off air. Apologies from my side. This was a technical glitch. There was a technical glitch due to which the live streaming went off air, and now we are back, and let's begin with the analysis with the disclaimer first that we are analyzing the unverified reports from social media and unverified visuals from social media, purely from documentary purposes and educational purposes, strongly following the YouTube community guidelines. So apologies from my side that the live streaming went off air for some time, and now we are back. I was telling you that about the ground invasion of the US, which US is planning, and I was telling you that IRGC know that and at first they are 1 million strong, and the US must be sending, if they are planning, they should be sending 500,000 to 1 million soldiers at the ground, and IRGC being 1 million strong, and they have mastered the guerrilla tactics, and they know that US can be defeated by guerrilla tactics, as was the case in Vietnam when the Vietnamese army fought against the U.S. And they fought with the guerrilla tactics, and they fought the guerrilla warfare, and also the Taliban also fought a guerrilla warfare in Afghanistan, and which forced the U.S. to leave Afghanistan and Vietnam as well. So IRGC know that in order to expel that and in order to defeat the U.S. In the ground invasion, that IRGC knows that they would be fighting a guerrilla warfare, and that would be helpful to them. Moreover, the terrain is not helpful to the U.S. as well, as the terrain is huge mountains, mountain ranges, and then the deserts as well. So the terrain is not also favorable to the U.S. as well. And moreover, even if U.S. succeeds in ground invasion, but even if they succeed in the ground invasion, the amount that U.S. would be needing to maintain their forces would be very, very high, because already U.S. is spending, because to maintain the ground, maintain the forces that are 500,000 to 1 million strong, and to sustain the ground invasion, U.S. would be needing a huge amount of money. Already they have spent nearly $30 billion in this war. They are spending nearly $1 billion a day in this war, and they have in total spent they have in total already spent $30 billion in this war. Marco Rubio was saying that this war will end as soon as possible, and it would not be a prolonged war. But it looks like the ending of the war is not near. The only chance of the war going to end soon, the only chance is that if negotiations take place. Elsewise, I don't see this war ending soon, because both sides are fighting, and the negotiations, if don't happen, then both sides would be fighting. And I can see, according to our analysis, the war would be a prolonged war, and it could even last a month or 2 months more. So I don't see this war ending soon. And even President Trump, in a day before yesterday, he has said that in order to wrap up from this war, the U.S. needs to wrap up this war. And this was a statement by President Trump that the U.S. will be wrapping up this war within 4 to 6 weeks. He also gave the time frame that within 4 to 6 weeks, U.S. would be will be in matter of 4 to 6 weeks, U.S. will be wrapping up this war. So I also am of the opinion that if the negotiations don't take place, then U.S. would be fighting this war, and this war would be a prolonged war, and it can take a month or two as well. So with this situation, that Trump has also warned the U.S. Trump has warned Iran. I did make a mistake. Trump has warned Trump has warned Iran that Iran must open the Strait of Hormuz, and if by Friday, and the ultimatum was for today. And if Iran doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz by Friday, means by today, then the power plants of Iran would be attacked, and the power plants of Iran would be attacked by US. So this was the news from that the ultimatum which President Trump gave to Iran is now officially over, and President Trump had given earlier the ultimatum that the war that Iran should open the Strait of Hormuz by the end of Friday, which is today. So the ultimatum which President Donald Trump gave to Iran is officially now over, and President Trump had already stated that the U.S. would be bombing, the power plants of Iran if Iran doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz by Friday, which is now today, to which Iran clearly has said that we are not opening the Strait of Hormuz, and the Strait of Hormuz is as of now is still closed. The Strait of Hormuz as of now is still closed, and the ultimatum which President Trump had given to Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz by Friday, which is now today, this ultimatum is already over. He also threatened Iran that he would be bombing the power plants of Iran if Iran doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz, to which Iran replied that the statements of President Trump are worthless, and we are not intimidated by threats of the President Trump, and we are not opening the Strait of Hormuz. These are visuals courtesy Al Jazeera News. These are visuals courtesy Al Jazeera News that smoke was seen rising from Iran's Iraq heavy water plant following Israeli air strikes. Visuals courtesy Al Jazeera News today. Also, two to three of the steel making plants of Iran are have been targeted by Israel as well. Please do take part in the poll. We have a question, we have poll for you that whether Iran is justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz or not, whether is justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz or not. Please do take part in that poll, and do also answer the question which we have for you, that is Iran justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz? Also give your reasons whether Iran is justified or whether Iran is not justified for closing the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has today attacked with drones the Kuwait International Airport, causing fire over there. Iran has attacked with drones Kuwait International Airport, causing fire over there. This is it for now, and please do subscribe the channel and do like the video as well, and do share your thoughts and comments, and please do subscribe the channel and like the video as well. This is it for now, and we will be live once we have more news. Take care of yourselves. Thank you, and we will be live once we have some more news for you. Before leaving, it's and these are the before leaving, check out these visuals and do answer the question which we have for you. Do also take part in the poll which we have for you, that whether Iran is justified in closing the Strait of Hormuz or not. And before leaving, do please subscribe the channel and like the video as well. This is it for now. Thank you.